But let's take you live to Parliament because Madame Charlotte said the chairperson of the Electoral Commission is facing the Public Accounts Committee.
Honourable members, order.
I just respond and then mention your names. So I'll continue with the rest.
I,
Charlotte,
swear by Almighty God
swear by Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
So help me God.
Your things are plenty. Yes.
Please sit down. You're welcome, the Commissioner and the other directors of the Electoral Commission. We are here this morning to look at the audit report of the Auditor General for 2015. By the particular, your report is 2013. You are meeting the Committee of Public Accounts Committee. It's a committee of Parliament established under Order 165 of the Standing Orders of Parliament. The committee has the powers of a High Court under Article 103 of the Constitution of Ghana, and this power is used to invite witnesses to appear before the committee. We use it for production of documents by witnesses, and then also to the extent of subpoena a witness to appear before the committee. However, the committee is not here to find fault with you, but to look at the reports or the findings of the Auditor General in his report, which is referred to the committee by Mr. Speaker. We want to remind you that you are under oath, and whatever you are going to say here should be the only truth. If you speak untruth to the committee and it is found, it amounts to perjury and you suffer the consequences. It's a reminder. So if you don't know, say, so I do not know, and that will be better for you. Your reports can be found on page 500 of the Auditor General's report for 2015 for public boards and corporations. We will start, but we want to give you the opportunity to tell us what you do as a commission. But before you do that, we want you to introduce yourselves to the committee. The committee will do our side first before we come to you. So I'll start from my right, the honorable member at the right, and to begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexander Kojoko Aban, MP for Guma West, and a member of the committee.
Honorable Benito Ousubio, MP for Achimang Wadiaja North, and a member of the committee, and also a Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources.
Hello, I'm Samuel Atta Mills, MP for Commander Edna Egwafo Abrem constituency and member of the committee.
My name is Solomon Boa, MP for Bunkuru and Deputy Minister, Northern Region, member of the committee.
My name is Dr. Clement Abasina Bapak, member of Parliament for Buza South and a member of the committee.
My name is Inusa Mohammed, clerk to the committee.
Edward Kalaiula Dere, MP for Lambuse constituency in the Upper West region. My constituency share border with the Burkina Faso. And I'm the vice chairman of the committee.
Thank you very much. My name is James Kluche Abeji, MP for Ketuno and the chair of this committee.
My name is Kofi Ochre Ajekum, member of Parliament for Fantia Kwasta and the ranking of the committee. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ras Mubarak, MP for Kumbong in the Northern Region and a member of the committee.
I am Mafo Nana Ameniampong Epija Kwaprinov, immediate past deputy ranking of the committee, and still a member, and currently chairman of the Trade and Industry Committee.
Mr. Chairman, before I introduce myself, I want to crave your indulgence. Honorable Samuel Atamelos. The name of the constitution is just too long. Can you explain to the committee today? Meanwhile, my name is member of our reign, member of the committee.
Yeah, good morning. Cheba for Eya is my name. A member of Parliament for Lower West Achim in the ST region, and a member of this committee. In the Republic of Ghana. I forgot to add that word.
Good morning. Alhaji Muhammad Bawa Brahma is my name, representing the people of Ejurasi Chedumasi and a member of this committee.
Kwabena Ohimi Tinyasi is my name. I'm MP for Kedi in the Eastern region and a member of this committee.
Odami Ejikum, Assistant Auditor General.
Joyce Kwatsua, Assistant Auditor General, Commercial Audit.
Osudonko, Assistant Auditor General.
I'm Razak Olawi. Are you at Texan, External Auditor?
Cornelius Nomanu, Assistant Auditor General.
Samuel Bodu, Director HR, Electoral Commission.
Chair, good morning. My name is Mrs. Charlotte Osei, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission.
My name is Alhaji Amadou Sule, Deputy Chairman Operations of the Electoral Commission.
I am Sribo Kweku, Regional Director Ashanti.
I am Azubosko Nigre, Regional Director, Upper West Region.
My name is Benjamin Banubio, Acting Regional Director, Northern Region.
My name is Oscar Apimaba, Acting Regional Director, Upper East Region, Electoral Commission.
Thank you very much. I think that ends the introduction note. Madam, Honorable, I haven't heard you introduce yourself. Please do.
My name is Barbara Otinjesi, Member of Parliament for Prisia Huni Valley and Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, I've mentioned already that page 500 is where we find the Electoral Commission's reports. And as I said earlier on, I'll give the floor to the chairperson of the commission to tell us in brief, 2 or 3 minutes, what you do at the Electoral Commission.
Mr. Chair, good morning. I'm quite surprised at the question because I think it's because of our work that you are here representing your constituencies.
Yes, I might know your work, but somebody down who is listening to us live might not know. So we want you to recap what you've been doing to all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the Electoral Commission is mandated under the Constitution of Ghana to conduct elections. We register voters. We demarcate constituency boundaries. And we manage the assets of states which are entrusted into our care. That, in summary, is really our work. But in terms of the electoral mandate, we conduct presidential and parliamentary elections. And there are other statutory elections which we also conduct, such as the election of officers for political parties, the representative members into the Council of State, district assembly elections, and all that. And of course, referenda, as and when necessary.
But you haven't done that yet, have you? Do you intend to do anything like that soon?
We are working with the executive, and when we get some finality on those issues, we would let you know.
How are you funded?
We have our main source of funding is from the Consolidated Fund, from the state. We also, particularly when it comes to elections, in terms of, there are certain aspects that donors would support, such as ensuring inclusivity in the elections, making sure that persons with disabilities, women candidates, are a part of the electoral system. Donors would support some initiatives at their own discretion that enhance the transparency of the election. So we do get some donor funding, but our main source of funding is the state. And then, more recently, we have some tiny funds from internally generated funds, mainly from the 5 cedis we charge for replacement of voter ID cards.
Thank you very much. I give the first bite to Honorable PAC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I want to make reference to page number 503 from paragraph 2127 to 2132. And it has to do with the disposal of motor vehicles. The Auditor General's work determined that a number of vehicles which were disposed by the Commission were not captured in terms of the provision of a list, which made it difficult for the auditors to determine the actual value. It says in paragraph 2131 that management responded by saying that the fair value of the assets disposed of is estimated to be 402,000 Ghana cedis, 328, so to speak. I would want to know whether the Commission has since made that list available to the auditors, and if they've been able to confirm the estimated value that the Commission's representatives indicated in the report.
Mr. Chairman, we have made the list available, and I think we made copies for members of the committee. There were 40 vehicles which were disposed of in the year 2013. Those vehicles were acquired, most of them in the year 2007, some in 2006, some in the year 2000, some in 2003. When we disposed of them through the auction, a total amount of about 83,000 cedis was realized. We have made copies of the documentation relating to that available as well. We've also given details on each vehicle, the year of purchase, the registration number, the year of disposal, and the amount realized from the auction.
Mr. Chairman, I would want to know which auctioneer was engaged to undertake this process of disposing the said 40 vehicles.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have that information here. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, may I humbly request that the information regarding the auctioneer in question be provided to the committee. Mr. Chairman, if I may follow up just my last bite at this sharing. Who were the beneficiaries of this auction? I ask this because time and again we have instances where members of the committee have had reason not only to worry about the cost of the purchase price for these auction items, but also the beneficiaries. Is it possible that staff of the commission were beneficiaries of the said auction?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have the list here, but we can make it available to the committee. Yeah. Not online.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, but I want to know if staff of the commission were beneficiaries of the auction.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, the list is here. Let's see. Well, I see the names of a few staff. Yes. So staff were beneficiaries.
Very well. Mr. Chairman, I think that you give me a last bite. Looking at the list provided, which is the written response, and the purchase price of the said auction vehicle vis-a-vis the disposal prices, would the commissioner agree that the process has not been entirely fair in terms of the disposal prices vis-a-vis the purchase price of the vehicles?
Honorable Member, I will disallow that question. I don't know how you determine the fairness in this matter.
Well, Mr. Chairman, in that case, let me rephrase. Okay. What entity did the evaluation before these items were disposed?
Mr. Chair, my understanding is that STC did the valuation for the vehicles. And if you also look at the ages of the vehicles, when you look at the purchase price, the youngest of those vehicles, to put it that way, was acquired in 2007. At the time it was being disposed of in 2013, that would be 6 years. So it would definitely be fully depreciated, and so the value on the books would be zero. But I understand that STC did the valuation.
Madam, what is the policy of the Commission in terms of disposal of vehicle vis-a-vis the participation of employees of the Commission? Is there a policy that in a case of this nature, the employees are allowed to participate and take part as a way of motivation, or what is the policy of the Commission in terms of this?
Mr. Chair, unfortunately, I have not done any auction since I assumed office. So I'll defer that question to the...
You are liberty to defer if you are not there. Those there who have the information and have that policy, they can respond.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think I can come in here. And as you said, the opportunity is given to the staff as a means of motivating them. But the issue is open. In fact, it's open to even outsiders. But the opportunity is also given to members of staff, especially those who are getting ready to retire or those who have retired. So that is, but whether there is a written policy, like you were saying, this was discussed at the commission, that give opportunity to members of staff who have retired or are about to retire, and then the other members of the public.
What is that, the form of the opportunity given to them? Is it a deliberate policy to ensure that once we are auctioning these vehicles, and for that matter, well, out of the 40, let's ensure that 20 go to the staff? Is that it? Or you allow them to also participate in the auctioning process? If they win, so be it. If none of them get it, so be it. Is that how it is? So in this case, they are participating as citizens of Ghana, or you allocated some of the vehicle to them, that must go to them.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, it's not specific that we are allocating this. It's open for all, but to make sure members of staff participate.
Honorable, okay, follow.
Thank you. Looking at the list, I've seen the, if I may say, the name of Senior Staff Association, Drivers Union, Local Union, and even the, if I'm right, the Commissioner himself. I'm wondering whether vehicles that are 8 years, 7 years old, and therefore they have been declared maybe unserviceable and all that, will be bought by the Commissioner of the Commission.
Mr. Chair, unfortunately, we can't answer that question on behalf of the former chairman of the Commission, as he's not here.
I'm not asking the former chairman, I'm asking the Commission. That it looks to me that, I don't know about that, but looking at the few lists, most of these vehicles probably went to the Electoral Commission organization and their staff and their associations, including even the Commissioner. That's the kind of question. But is that not how it happened?
Mr. Chairman, I'm unable to confirm that. It's a very nebulous question.
Well, if you see a name that you know, and that person is also an employee of the Commission, it falls under the explanation given earlier. That person could be a junior officer, a senior officer. It falls under the explanation given earlier. They participated as citizens of this country. They are not restricted for the fact that they are working at the Commission. They are allowed to do that one. So let's take that explanation to apply to everybody. No. Honorable Tinyasi.
Mr. Chairman, looking at the vehicles, I believe that, I don't know whether your finance man is here, and that for all purposes of fairness, we have the cost of the vehicle, Chairman, the cost of the vehicle, the depreciation for the period of 6 years, because every institution is supposed to have a depreciation policy on all fixed assets. Then we get the realizable value, which in terms it could be the scrap value before the auction value, for us to pass a very good judgment on whether the auction was properly taken or otherwise. I would therefore beg the indulgence of the chairman to make sure that you update us critically on matters of principles of finance, the costs, the depreciation policy you had, the realizable value that was to be, the amount that you sold, the beneficiaries in name, and then in status. We also want the advert date, because Chairman will recollect that sometimes they even sell the vehicle before they advertise. So the advert date and the auctioneer involved. Cost of vehicle, depreciation policy, depreciation value, realizable value, the saleable value, the auctioneer, and the date of the sale, and the date of the advert for the sale. Thank you.
Well, honorable member, your request, I'll grant it, but I don't know what you want us to achieve by having that information. In terms of the asset depreciation policy, the value, the purchase value, the depreciation, the realizable value in terms of that, you know, because this is a state-owned corporation, the law says that they must go and have the asset value, in this case by the State Transport Corporation, and they have done that. So if you get all that information you want, the realizable value of that asset could be more than what the valuation given by the corporation. And valuation realized from the auctioning. So getting that information will not serve any purpose.
It will serve a very good purpose in terms of judgment of fairness to the state, because it's the state who is the ultimate beneficiary of the revenue.
If the state is not treated fairly, assuming that the realizable value is more than the amount actually realized from the auction, and then the value placed on it by the state corporation, who are you going to blame?
Now, then we can have it in our recommendation to improve the auctioning process and the valuation process to the benefit of the country, the state, because we are supposed to protect the state first and make sure things go right. Then to my main question.
That is your question. That is your question. No, that is your question. You don't have any other question. Honorable Mills, Atta Mills.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Madam, please hold on.
So, Chairman, if you'll indulge me, I just wanted to make sure we had captured all the details the honorable member requested.
Okay, can you repeat what you asking for?
Can I just repeat what I have and then
sure.
you can confirm? So, honorable member, in addition to what we have given here, you want the details of the auctioneer, the depreciation policy, the advert date, the auction date, the depreciation value, the realizable value, and the saleable value. Okay. Thank you.
But I think you left one out.
And the beneficiaries.
No. What you left out, if I heard, was that the valuation.
The valuation is there.
Is it there? Yeah, the valuation from the STC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If the auditors could help us out, because I think what may be creating the wrong impression is the prices for some of these vehicles that they bought in 2003 and 2004. The amounts listed, are these in new cities or old cities?
2013.
No, 2003 and 2004.
Okay.
Because that could be, I'm not sure if the auditors could help us with it. Because when you have a price of 219,000, that makes some.
It's in the new cities, Ghana cities. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Honorable Mills, are you done with your question? Honorable Chair Bafo.
Chairman, thank you. Chairman, I'm looking at page 501. specifically performance indicators for 2030. Chairman, I'm looking at the expenditure lines, and for 2012, we had for registration and election expenses 134,65025, being the registration and election expenses. This will agree because 2012 is our election year. But when we come to 2013, even though the expenditure line has dropped by 69.9%, we still have 39,265,121, which is over 39 million. Chairman, I want to ask Audit whether 2013 there were some elections, some of their mandatory elections were held, which led to us incurring registration and election expenses.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, we don't have those details here, so we may have to go back and bring that.
Hello, Madam, please, Auditor, check this thing very well so that let's be at par. The value here is 2003 Nissan Terrano wagon, 219,000. It can't be new series. No, because he said, when he asked, he said it's a new series. It's not possible. 2003, we were not in the new series. 2007, 2003, we're not spending new series. It was the old.
I want to say we will confirm. We'll confirm.
Yeah, so please. It's incorrect.
Let's have the Auditor General to confirm those figures, because we have 2003, 2004, 2003. Then we also have 2000, year 2000. So let's be sure. Those are in the old cities and those are in the new Ghana city.
Chairman,
continue.
Okay. Madam, how soon can you make those documents ready for us? The registration and election expenses for 2013. You said you were going to bring them later. How soon can the committee have it?
Mr. Chairman, by next week, because we'll have to go to the finance team to pull out the financial statements for 2013. So those details, the breakdown should be in the 2013 financial statement.
Chairman, still looking at the expenditure pattern, I think most...
Is it a follow-up? Is it a follow-up question?
I said that.
Follow-up to what? Which question? What do you want them to provide, and they say they'll provide next week. Why can this one be follow-up? Then I'll not give you the opportunity. Honorable Rasmubarak.
I'm very grateful, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I wanted some figures confirmed before we can go on. Now, with indulgence, Mr. Chairman, there's a name listed as Christiana Bosompem, and she got a vehicle number GV49Y at 140 Ghana cedis. 140 Ghana cedis. I just want to be sure the figure is accurate. Auditor. The name is Christiana Bosompem.
Mr. Chairman, that car is paid twice. He first paid 2,000 and the 140 was paid later. So if you look at the list, you have 49 appears twice.
The name is the very first name, but then he appears again 2,000 and then 140.
So which one is correct?
It's the same car. He paid this one, he paid 2,000.
That's all right. Mr. Chairman, I'll move on. A Nissan hard-body vehicle, 2007 make, was auctioned at 749 cedis to Said Mohammed. Is he a member of staff? It's an exam hard body. I've checked with the other list they have given. Is he a member of staff?
Chairman, I'm not familiar with the name. Would have to check and confirm.
Okay. You also have Dr. Kojo Afarijan. A vehicle was auctioned to him, and the vehicle number GV141Z. It is a Nissan minibus, 2008 model, auctioned at 2,675 Ghana cedis. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Chairman, they do not have, per their response, they do not have the responses from the Upper East and Bravo regional directors. Are they here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and we do have their responses now.
Ross, I want you to ask one question. The way you are going, it looks like you want to cunningly do cross-examination and add another question to another one. No, you are being too cunning. I will not allow you. Your matter ends there. Honorable Aban.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to know from the Electoral Commissioner if all these monies have been paid, the cars that were sold, whether each person has paid.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we've received all the auction sales, the receipts from the auction sales. We have all of it.
How much was paid to the auctioneer in terms of percentages?
Mr. Chairman, I know it's usually a percentage of the sales, but I cannot confirm at this point. We can add that to the details would be providing.
Madam, you can ask any of your directors to respond because they were at post at the time. You were not there, so you might not have all the information. So they were at post, they should help because there's a law that governs auction, the percentage of the proceeds that the auctioneer must collect as his fee. So we should be able to know. That is what the honorable member is asking. But if you still don't have the information, then you add it to what we want you to provide.
Mr. Chair, I have consulted with them and nobody seems to be certain.
Okay.
And I'd rather we provided information that we're sure of.
Okay. Two more. Honorable Bauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, if you look at the auditor's query, it was that the commission did not have a register of assets. May I know from the commission whether that is the position?
Honorable member, that is the position. That is why the auditors capture it. If you want to know whether the position has changed,
whether the position has changed,
yes, then put a question where.
Madam Chairperson, what is the position now? Do you now have a register of all your assets?
From what the auditor said, they said we had not updated it, not that it didn't exist. So I think we've updated it subsequent to that, and we are in the process of again updating it based on all the assets we acquired last year during the elections.
Mr. Chairman, if you go to paragraph 2131, the auditor said the management responded that the fair value of the assets that were disposed of was estimated to be 402,000. But per the response of the Electoral Commission, that they realized 83,029. I want them to reconcile because you gave the auditors a fair value of the items, of the vehicles that we are going to dispose of. And look at the discrepancy between 402 and 83,000. is huge. How come?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure I'd call it a discrepancy. A discrepancy would exist if it was between what was realized, what auditor said we realized, and what we say we realized. This was an estimate given prior to even the valuation by the STC. I do not know the basis of that valuation that was done by management at that time. But clearly, by the time the vehicles were valued by STC and auction off, what we realize is what we have accounted for today. So it's, if you want to call it a discrepancy between what someone presumed to be a value as against the actual value after the valuation and the auction sales.
Mr. Chairman, I was saying so because if you look at, if you estimated something to be around 400, and then it comes as low as 83, you will find out the difference is huge. Yes, valuation. The valuation, yes. And that gives room for some suspicion somewhere.
No, I think, Mr. Chair, it just shows that the person who was making the estimate did not have the expertise to make the estimate, in my opinion, seeing that the person does not work with the state transport company, but works at the Electoral Commission.
Mr. Chairman, then I will employ next time when we are giving something to the auditors. You know, it is going, these books is going by, and if you go to the website of the Electoral Commission, you will get this information there. And with your response, you see that anybody picking it will be having a double mind as to rate. So I urge that next time, if you don't have the values, you just tell the auditor that we don't have the values. But what you are telling the auditor is what will be incorporated in the report.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chair. Next time we'll stick to our areas of expertise.
Madam, you see, when the auditors came there, you had already disposed of the vehicles, and they wanted the amount that you realized in the list, and you chose to give them a fair value. And so the discrepancy, you know, it casts a little bit of doubt on the whole organization. That is where he's trying to come from. It is, how come that you have already sold the vehicles, you cannot provide me how much you realize, and when I ask you, give me a fair idea, if you like, and it's about 300% different. It means that somebody is not on top of issues there. That is the point he's making.
Do we have the Director of Finance, who was at post at the time, here with us?
No, Mr. Chair, he retired in 2014.
Honorable Nana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's go back to page 501. General and administrative expenses. 2012, it came up to 22,209,227 Ghana cedis. And then the year 2013, it stood at 21,697,913. We all know that 2012 was an election year, and per the activities of the commission, there's that inclination that your budget will always shoot, above the roof. But when you come to 2013, it just dropped by less than even 1 million. So what exactly did you do? Because administrative expenses and general expenses, I think they moved in the same direction. If you look at the activities that you undertook in 2012 and you just suppose that against 2013, what exactly did you do in 2013 which made it near that of the election year? I think we want a little explanation to that.
Madam, if you can't respond to the question, you can say so and ask somebody to respond.
I will give it a shot based on just my experience in the past years, Mr. Chairman. When we do our budgeting in election years, election-related expenses are treated very separately from the general and administrative expenses. So our general and administrative expenses do not follow the election year. They tend to stay pretty much the same. Whether it's an election year or not, offices around the country have to be maintained, vehicles have to be maintained, rents have to be paid, electricity has to be paid, stationery has to be procured. So that is very separate from the election year expenses. And so that's why you'd find that the variance is minute, whether it's between an election year and a non-election year. The main change you'd see in the budgeting would be with the election-related expenses.
Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's clear now.
That's the explanation given by the chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is a public interest question. There is this perception out there.
Where? Where? You say out there. Where?
Whether in Nakachi,
is it
within the public space? Are you okay, Mr. Chairman? There is this perception within the public space that after every major election, like the 2016 election, after the election, the Commission has literally nothing to do. They just sit down and work the people until the next 4 years. Can you use this opportunity as a very important platform to at least throw more light on the activities you do on monthly or yearly basis until the next election? Seriously speaking, that is what is out there. Off season.
Yes, Madam.
Mr. Chair, that's actually a question that I've been personally asked several times. But we're an organization with offices around the country in every district. We have about 1,400 staff. In years when we don't have general elections, there are still other statutory elections that we undertake. There are also fee-for-service elections. There are institutions that call upon us to do elections for them. Then there are, even with the statutory elections, not all of them happen in the same years as a general election. So for this year, for instance, we've done the election of the regional representatives of the Council of State. There are other activities that go on whether there's an election or not. So if you want to replace your ID card, there's work to be done at the district offices. There's work to be done at head office maintaining the database. It's not as hectic as in an election year, but there's certainly a stream of activities that keep us busy. We are also, our activities are not just restricted to Ghana. We are members of the ECOWAS network of electoral commissions. We are members of the African Association of Election Authorities, and in fact, Ghana is the permanent secretariat. So there are other activities that we undertake with other election management bodies outside of Ghana that keep us busy. When there are elections in other countries, whether it's Kenya, whether it's Liberia, Sierra Leone, we are called in to also lend our support. We go on monitoring and observation missions. So there's quite a bit that goes on that keeps us busy. Of course, there's also internal capacity building. This is really the only times we can do it, when you don't have a general election. That's when you build the capacity of your staff. That's when we do a lot of training. A lot of internal administrative issues are also taken care of during the non-election years. But we do quite a bit that I think our salaries are justified. We're still busy. I think my deputy chair operations would like to add something.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. You know, you were talking about 4 years. It's not. 2 years circle. And currently, if you listen to what is going on, the confirmation of even district chief executives is part
Speak
of,
to the mic.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm very sorry. Confirmation of district chief executive is a major activity that we do. And currently, even in the law, we factored in continuous voter registration, which is ongoing in our various districts. So there are various activities that we do. Yes. Yes.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, there is this school of thought that is of the view that if you look at the mandate of the National Commission on Civic Education, in terms of voter education especially, it appears to most people, including myself, that they just wait until election year before they start educating the people. And is it not possible to inject an innovation where you can collaborate effectively with them so that within the period that we are talking of, that this education can be very vigorous until the next election years to reduce the amount of spoiled ballots during elections, because it's becoming an issue. Spoiled ballot, yes, spoiled ballot.
Mr. Chair, I think the concern is about rejected ballots and not spoiled ballots. But
well, that is not my area. Yes, as you indicated.
Mr. Chair, I think you would notice that in the last elections, the quantum of rejected ballots came down almost by about 50%. So there was a significant reduction. So there's progress in that area. And we did collaborate a lot with the National Commission for Civic Education towards that. I'm not really sure, and it's something we'd have to take up with the NCC, whether starting the education now would actually result in a significant reduction of rejected ballots in the next election. Reason being that for every election, relevant CIs that regulate that election would have to be passed. It is only when you're certain about the law and the processes that you can now start educating people on how that election is going to be. So if, for instance, we start engagements with political parties prior to the elections, and some reforms are agreed, which have to be undertaken, those reforms will be captured in the law. Then you can educate. If we start the education now, it may be premature. There's also significant research in the area of rejected ballots that shows that the reasons are varied. It's not just a matter of education. Sometimes it's tension, sometimes it's people just being drunk by the time they get to the polling booth. So it's all sorts of reasons. So education on the process is not the only thing. But in the last election, we focused quite a bit on educating people on the how to vote, how to mark the ballots, and we did see a significant reduction, but it's work that is going on. We are pretty happy about the fact that we got a 50% reduction the last time, and we're hoping that by 2020, it's actually in our strategic plan, we will be down to almost nothing. And so the concern of rejected ballots being the third highest or second highest candidate would be a thing of the past.
I wish the Commission well.
Vice Chairman.
Madam Chair, if you look at page 502, the table there, you don't want me to answer the ratios of how much? It's only for the ratios. Okay, go to page 504, paragraph 2133, where the Auditor General, the Auditor General, of course, cited an issue of payment without supporting documents. And he emphasized, in the same page, if you go to paragraph 2134, the Auditor General emphasized that the regional officers should be made to refund a set amount of 18,785. Has it been resolved?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the auditor said that in the absence of relevant documents to support the payments, the officers in the region should be made to refund the amounts involved. We've done quite a bit of work, and we are confident that We have all the supporting documentation for the expenditure. It's unfortunate that at the time the auditors came and requested this documentation, our regional officers did not provide them. But we have all of them, we have all the source documents, and we've made them available.
Have you submitted that to the Auditor General? That's important.
We were asked to bring it here, but we've made copies for them.
Well, next time, the Auditor General should be the first person, because he's the one examining it before he gets rest, so that they will reconcile and then give it to us. So
Thank you,
I think that's all about.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam, you stated among your duties demarcation of electoral boundaries or something like that. I heard some statement like that. I want to know, is it the Electoral Commission that creates new constituencies or the Ministry of Local Government? The public is usually confused.
Mr. Chair, that's within our constitutional mandate.
Thank you. My second question is, I see, I think on page 509, miscellaneous incomes. Can you give us details of 501? Page 501, miscellaneous income in your performance indicators. Yes, I know probably the IGF, but I want to know how you get your IGF, that what brings in your IGF.
Honorable Ranking, I think that she said it earlier on, that the replacement of voter ID cards is one of the major areas that they get those things from. But if there's additional, you can add, Madam.
Yes.
We have nomination fees and then bid documents when we're doing tenders. Those are the three main sources.
Okay, when you conduct elections on behalf of various institutions, organizations, including political parties, do you make an income?
We don't make an income. We usually would drop a budget with them, and they would pay the cost. There's no profit, but we are actually looking at, if you look at our strategic plan, when we fully roll it out, one of the areas we're looking at is setting up a desk for fee-for-service elections within the Electoral Services Department, so that those non-statutory elections can be properly managed and can actually be a source of income generation.
I was going to advise you to do, so I'm glad you are doing it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ranking Member. Madam, page 502, your balance sheets for 2013, non-current assets dropped from 128 million to 98 million. What a difference of almost 30 million, or close to 30 million. What was the reason?
Chair, I think the auditors actually explained it there. They said due to disposal of motor vehicles and depreciation charge for the year. And if we go to the prior page, the performance indicators, depreciation charge for 2013 was 36 million as against 35.1 million in 2012. And so the rest would be the disposal of vehicles.
Madam, do you think that can cause a difference? The vehicle that was disposed of in a year, if we sum it up, do you think that we can get that much? Because the element of depreciation for the vehicle that have been disposed of is the only one that will be taken off the depreciation value in the account. It's not the entire depreciation that will go off, because you are depreciating a number of assets and you dispose of some number of vehicles. And the value of those vehicles that you dispose of, does it amount to that difference of 30 million?
Mr. Chair, I would hate to express a thought different from what the experts who are the auditors have said.
Well, it's not. It's your account that they have audited. So they pick the information from your account. Because if you dispose of assets, it is the value that you captured in your books as the value of the asset, which are disposed of, are the ones you are going to deduct from your asset value. After depreciation, it doesn't even come here at all.
If you recall, at the beginning of this exercise, when we talked about the estimated value of the vehicles, we were advised to stick to our area of expertise. And so if auditors have said that the non-current assets decreased by 23% due to disposal of motor vehicles and depreciation charge, I would hate to argue with them. It's not my area of expertise.
Because the vehicle that you dispose of, the values are here. And if we sum it up, it's not close to even 5 million.
I think the auditors will be the best ones to answer these questions.
But it's your account that they have audited. And now in your books, you are showing, as at December 31st, 2013, you show 98 million as the value of your assets, dropping from 128 million. That is all you captured in your book, which they have audited. And I'm saying that if you are saying that the reason is the disposal of vehicles, the vehicle you dispose of which have been captured by the auditor, which you provide this information, the value you captured here, sum them up, is not up to 5 million. So that cannot be the only reason for the fall or the drop in the number. That is my point. Anyway, that'll be all for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to honorable members.
You are discharged.
So that was Madam Charlotte Osei, the chairperson of the EC, as the Public Accounts Committee sitting of Parliament. Of course, she was there with her deputy in charge of operations, that is Mr. Amadou Sule. Quite some interesting proceedings going on there. Of course, we'll be bringing you updates on whatever happens at the Public Accounts Committee sittings in our later bulletins. My name is Daniel Dazi. Many thanks for watching us.